In this video, I'm going to show you how to complete the Pronoun Prank assignment. So when you log into Google Classroom, you're going to click on what period English you have, and then you're going to scroll down until you see an assignment titled The Case of the Pronoun Prank. On mine, it happens to be first, but it will depend on when you are completing this assignment. It might be the third or fourth thing down. So once you found it, you're going to click on it, and then you're going to notice there's an attachment here with your name on it. So you're going to click on that, and it's going to bring up a paragraph with the instructions. So let's take a look at the instructions real quick here. It says a paragraph below sounds pretty strange. It needs some pronouns to stand in for the nouns once in a while. Replace at least 5 nouns with pronouns. Highlight all the pronouns you use red. Notice how we're using the word replace right here. That's because you're going to, and I'll show you this in a second, but you're going to erase the noun and actually replace it. Okay. Then once you're finished with that direction, you're going to go down to direction number 2, and it says add one intensive pronoun to the story and highlight it yellow. Notice how we have the word add here. That means you're not going to replace anything this time. You're actually going to add an intensive pronoun, and I'll go over what that is in a second. First of all, let's take a look at, and this one here I already used as an example, so I want to put it back to the way it was. But let's take a look at how we're going to complete step 1. Let's take a look at the first sentence. It says, Brian walked into the room with no intention of doing any mischief until Brian saw Brian's grandmother's false teeth in the glass on the lampstand next to Grandma's bed. So my job here is I'm going to look for a noun that I could replace with a pronoun. Notice how we have a noun that's repeated over and over and over. Whenever you see that in your writing, that means that you could probably replace some of those with a pronoun. So we have all kinds of Brian's here that's just repeated over and over and over. Let's change this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight it. And how I do that is I can either hold the shift key down and click the arrow over, or I can hold my mouse down and drag it over. But if you highlight it, it's going to turn blue. The next step is I'm going to erase it. And I'm going to think of a pronoun that I could use instead of Brian's. In this case, I'm going to use his. Then I'm going to highlight it again. So I'm going to hold my shift key down, click my arrow key over. I'm going to go up to this A here and click on it. Once I click on it, notice how I have text or highlight. If I stay on text, it's going to change my letters to red. I don't want that. I'm going to click on highlight. Once I click on highlight, I'm going to click on red. And if I click off, notice it's red. So that's step 1. Step 2 is add one intensive pronoun to this story. So let's go over what an intensive pronoun is. An intensive pronoun adds emphasis to a noun or a pronoun, and it always ends in self. So remember the example we had in class, Mr. Hall himself baked a cake. Notice himself is an intensive pronoun in here. I need to have Mr. Hall in here. It's an intensive pronoun because, first of all, we can take himself out of this sentence. So Mr. Hall baked a cake, the sentence still makes sense. Himself just intensifies it. So in this story, your job is to look for somewhere you can add a self pronoun to intensify the sentence and then highlight it yellow. One last thing. If you get all the way through this, and let's say that you want to unhighlight your first word, you change your mind. You could click undo. A lot of people are familiar with this. That would be that button right there, and it'd undo it. But if you did that, notice how it would undo everything until your first word. So you'd have to redo the whole thing. So I'm going to teach you real quick how to unhighlight a word without clicking undo. So let's pretend I want to unhighlight his. I'm going to hold my shift key down, highlight it again by clicking the arrow key, or you can use your mouse. You're going to go back up to this A and click it. Click on highlight, and then click none, and it unhighlights the word.